Hey, why do you always find demons and ghouls together? Because demons are a ghoul's best friend. Welcome, all my demons and ghouls, to Ride Along Podcast. As always, I'm Jacobi. It's spooky season, guys. And of course, I didn't prepare. So hopefully this will make it out in time. What's the most iconic thing about Halloween? We all dress up, put on different masks, and walk around, right? What was your favorite costume as a kid? Or as an adult? And while you guys think about that, I guess it came to me that, we all dress up for Halloween, but we also wear masks the rest of the year, don't we? And now, whether that's neurodivergent sort of behavior, where you kind of pretend to be someone else to fit in, or maybe you're the most neurotypical person that there is. Plain old regular brain. You may not realize it, but you still definitely do mask. And I've had people that I've talked with before that they say they don't do any sort of masking, and they're always the same person. Be the same person no matter what, and otherwise you're lying. And I get that. It definitely can feel like you're lying. Say you're trying to impress some pretty girl that you've liked for a long time, right? Maybe you spend a little extra time washing your face, or brushing your teeth, or brushing your hair. You try and pick out fancier clothes or cleaner clothes, wherever the case may be. You're not changing who you are, right? But at the same time, you're just presenting a little bit shinier version. Is that fair? And ladies, don't think you're escaping. You can do your makeup, put on that one bra, find that dress, or whatever, right? We all want to present the best version of ourselves. Maybe if you're not trying to impress them that day, you're wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt. But it goes beyond that, doesn't it? And, of course, maybe a polo and khakis for a first date for guys, and a dress or whatever for girls. Maybe that's not your style. Maybe you're into the whole indie scene. Or you think the person you're trying to impress is. So you might try to dress sort of in that style. Maybe the person you like is really into motorcycles. So you get a leather jacket. Maybe they're really into sports. So you get a jersey. But it's not always limited to that, right? It's not always just, I'm trying to impress this person I want to date. If you're normally a sweatpants and t-shirt type of person, you're going in for a job interview, is that what you wear? Hopefully not. Or what if you like to feel fancy? You dress up, you wear a suit and tie every day. Or that was your previous job where you had to wear a suit and tie. What if you go to a job that it's great, but the dress code's much more relaxed? Everyone else is wearing pajama pants, and you're wearing a full suit, black tie, fancy watch on your wrist. And you walk in wearing a suit and tie as the new guy, new person. You might get some weird looks, right? Maybe even some contempt. Oh, look at this guy dressing up like he thinks he's our boss. So, you relax your standards. Maybe you don't go to pajama pants, but you go to maybe slacks and a button-up, or a polo, or a pair of khakis, or jeans and a t-shirt, just so you fit in. Because if you're the weird one in the group, it makes you unapproachable, doesn't it? And it's pretty common that people want to fit in. That's not That's not a wild idea. What about those circumstances where, like, you change more than just your clothes? And I think this is where most people think that, they stay pretty consistent. Well, are you going to act the same way at work, regardless of where you work? What if you're a mechanic or a construction worker, like a blue-collar job, right? Like everybody has kind of an idea of how that kind of looks. Okay. What if you're working in hospice care as like a nurse? Or you work at a funeral home? That's a different vibe, huh? What if you're an auctioneer? Are you always going to talk at that same fast-paced pitch when you're at home? What about, let's move away from jobs. What if you're just talking with a coworker outside of work? Is that going to be the same way that you talk to your kids or to your pet? I'm lumping kids and pet together, but obviously those are also different. But would you talking to a coworker, regardless of what job you have, or talking to your kids or talking to your pet, is that going to be how you talk to your parents or your friends or your grandmother or that cutie that you like or your childhood hero? They're all going to be different. At least I think for most people they will be. Even for people that say, I think changing yourself is lying and you should be the same person no matter what. I mean, you can say that and that's all well and good, but I imagine you don't talk to like people you're playing Xbox Live with the same way that you would talk to a police officer or someone of authority, right? Because I think just saying police officer, that can, for some people, kind of get their hackles up. So, an authority figure. Are you going to talk to them the same way that you scream at someone else on Xbox Live? Or the same way you speak softly and gently to your ancient grandmother? Or, unfortunately, the same way that most people just completely ignore the homeless? My point is, they're all different, right? They're all different masks that we put on. And the mask we wear can change so quickly and suddenly, and a lot of the times we don't even recognize it. To be a third-party observer, it's both hilarious and fascinating to watch this happen in real time. And sometimes you're this person, sometimes you're that person, right? What happens when that gets combined? Let's say you get married, or you just have a party, or, whatever. And you invite your family, and your parents, and your grandparents, and your coworkers, and your friends, and your neighbors. And most of these people probably don't know each other. Not well, at least. I mean, hopefully your grandparents know your parents pretty well. And most of the time, it goes fine, right? Because people in a new situation, new surroundings, they kind of try and figure out what the social cues are, right? And sometimes, maybe your parents worked in a factory and you work as a mechanic. The Venn diagram of those social cues, that's almost just a circle, right? What about when part of your family is very straight-laced, we'll go summering in Nantucket and go to the Hampshires to see the leaves turn. And we'll go apple picking in the fall, and we'll pick berries, right? But somehow you ended up as a mechanic or a truck driver, and all your friends are mechanics or truck drivers. They tend to speak a bit more crudely, and so you've got your New England mask that you'll put on in front of your family, and then you got your blue-collar mask that you'll put on around your friends and coworkers. And a lot of the time it's just for a brief moment where your grandmother, your parents, your cousin, they'll come up and say, "Oh, this must be David that you've told us about." And there's that look that people get in their eyes where they go, "Oh no, oh no." He's about to respond in probably the worst possible way. And I have to learn telepathy in the next 2 seconds to be able to avoid disaster, right? And it's always the same look, right? Just wide-eyed horror because you've been busy preparing, all the food and all the seating arrangements and everything. And you forgot to give everybody a heads up, like, hey, guys, I know we swear at work. I know we make jokes about this topic or that topic. But let's leave that behind for a little bit. Just, like while you're around my parents. I don't need my grandma having a heart attack from your offhanded joking around comment. That prep work doesn't happen. And most people will, recognize, oh, this is, they're elders, they're family. So I'll show them the respect that I would want someone else to show to my parents. And, to be an outsider, to watch this interaction, that's hilarious. But to be the one in the middle there, terrifying. And both of the other parties, the friends and the family, they're probably going to learn something about you that they didn't know before. And I guess, that's a pretty good example of why, right? Why we wear masks. On Halloween, we wear masks to, sometimes be silly or goofy or whatever. But sometimes it's to cause fear. And a lot of the times, it's not real fear that you're trying to cause, but just a little bit of a, a shock or something. But throughout the rest of the year, we wear masks because of our own fear, right? The fear of not fitting in, the fear of being rejected. I was talking with my assistant about this, and one of the things they said was, what's the biggest fear that you have if you didn't wear your mask? In whichever situation. And what sort of things are you risking by having your mask on? Whether that's missing out on something or something else. That same guy that I mentioned earlier that I was talking with that said he doesn't do any sort of masking or anything. He's always 100% genuine. I kept talking with him for a while. And your initial perception of him, and this isn't just my opinion, but other people that we've both talked with, he doesn't really seem that deep, right? Not dumb by any means, but just very one-dimensional sort of a person. But the more I talked with him, there's depths there. And I pointed out to him that that's his mask. That he pretends to be dumber or more shallow or whatever than he actually is. And I don't know if it's setting expectations, because if people don't expect that much out of you, then it's pretty easy to not disappoint them. If they think you're dumber than you actually are, then maybe they'll try and take advantage of you. And having that awareness, you can kind of judge who you can trust and who you want to associate with. Because for me personally, I don't want to hang out with somebody that's going to try to take advantage of me. And I guess, to start wrapping up, a word of warning, I think. Because one of the things that I've seen in myself as well as in others, be careful with the masks you wear. Because are they important? Yeah, definitely. But just like anything else, too much is bad. Too much salt is bad, but we need it. Too much water is bad, whether external or internally. Too much sugar is bad. Like everyone knows that one, but you need some. That's how your brain works. So the dose is what matters. And I guess what I'm saying is it becomes really easy if you continue wearing the same mask over and over and over, day in and day out, all day long, never taking it off, to just, you kind of, like clay, you just get molded to fit that shape. And sometimes you can kind of lose who you are. And I guess just be careful, right? That when you're trying to fit in and get along and find community, that you're not, in the meantime, losing what makes you you. And just a final question to leave you with. If you couldn't take your mask off, whether your current one or your work one or your friend's one, what would happen? And in what ways would that affect you? Positive or negative? But that's all for me today. If you guys like this, please consider giving it a like and hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you can be notified when new episodes arrive. And I hope you guys all have a safe and happy, maybe a little bit scary time this spooky season. And until next time, guys, thanks for listening and be safe.